For years, the American public has been victimized by the so-called cinematic geniuses, telling us time and again to see inferior movies, leaving us bitter and lost with nowhere to turn. But no more! This travesty of justice cannot and will not continue, because we now have the Cinema Judge!
Hello and welcome to the Cinema Judge. To all my regular listeners, thank you so much for listening again. Saying thank you doesn't quite sum it up. Every time I see somebody who listens, you get that feeling like when you were a kid, when you have that crush on somebody and you go back to school and you see them for the first time, that complete joy. That's putting it lightly. That's how I feel every time I see somebody had listened to the show, and I'm very grateful, so I don't take it lightly anytime you listen. And to everybody new, thank you for listening very much. You might ask, what are we about here at the Cinema Judge? First and foremost, this has been a cable access show for over 20 years in Bloomington, Minnesota. And on the show, I have interviews, scenes, B-roll, and you don't hear me at all. All it is pure show. And I love that one because I could have B-roll. You can't have that here, obviously, but that's what separates that from this. And also, like I said, I don't speak on there at all. All it is interviews and scenes and just sheer show. So then one day I realized, why can't I just make that into a podcast? I'll just take the interviews, I'll just get rid of the video, and then I'll introduce the interviews beforehand or give a little play-by-play about the movie, just so you know more about it. And those shows are on demand. So if you ever want to watch a TV version of this, go to Bloomington, Minnesota's webpage. It's BLM, as in Bloomington, .mn/BTV-shows. And then when you go there, you just type in Cinema Judge, 2 words, and then a whole bunch of the shows will show up. 20 years worth? Of course not. There's no way they could put 20 years worth of shows on there, but there's a few of them. And on the show, what we do is this. It's basically one giant infomercial. That's it. I go, here's the evidence. I'm just going to put it together, and then you, the jury, you make up your own mind. You don't need to have me tell you if it's a good movie or not, or if I like it or even. I'll tell you if I like it, but I would never, ever tell you not to see a movie, because who am I to tell you? That's ridiculous to me. My job is simple. As the judge, I collect the evidence and give it to you. Very simple. I don't jump in, I don't interrupt, and you'll never hear me insult directors, writers, actors. That's not my game here. I love movies, and I want to share movies with you. If you want to rip people, that's fine. You know, there's tons of people who will do that. I'm here because I like movies. There's enough drama out there in the world. This is my little oasis. And what I've always liked about this show, sometimes you find those little gems that you would never thought you'd see. Movies come out every week, but sometimes when you get an in-depth look at a picture, a complete scope of it, you might realize, this sounds fun. Why not give it a shot? And that's what I really have enjoyed throughout the years of making this show. I've found so many little gems that I would never have seen before. So that's what this show does for me. It makes me want to see different kind of films, not just your typical everyday blockbusters. So that's what we do here at the Cinema Judge. I simply drop it, love it, leave it at your feet. I drop it at your feet. I hope you love what I give you. And then I leave it to you to make up your own mind. It's that simple. Now, approaching the bench today, we have the movie Our Friend. It's based on a true story, based on the article first written called The Friend. Now, in this story, it's about 3 friends. 2 of them get married, and the other one eventually moves away. But then eventually, the wife gets cancer. So then, the friend who's moved away decides to come back and help his friend with his kids and everything else that can be done around the house. Now, I love these kind of movies because it really holds a mirror up to you, saying, how good of a friend am I? Would I do this for somebody? Because sometimes we hope the binds that hold us together are strong enough to sustain any mistakes we make. That's what friendship is all about. Being able to make mistakes, but then that makes you stronger, not just ending. So this is the kind of movie where things could be up and down, stressful, nerve-wracking, trying times, and they stick together. It just, almost sometimes makes you feel embarrassed. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm a failure as a friend. But obviously this is the extreme level of somebody helping out. But that's what kind of film this is. And it's a true story. That's what's crazy. If you just wrote this on its own, you might just kind of scoff at it. And you're like, oh man, how pretentious, or whatever you might say. But when you know it really happened, it just makes it that much more rewarding. Now, without further ado, let's play the trailer for Our Friend.
Matt? Hang on.
Matt, open this door.
Dana, hang on. Oh my God.
Matt!
What did you do that for?
That's the easy fix. I have a screwdriver in the car. I thought about doing stand-up comedy.
You tell jokes?
It's pretty scary to come up here. I have a friend who's been wanting to try stand-up, but he's a little chicken.
Dave was our best friend.
Go, Dave!
I'm so scared right now.
Most of the time I felt like they were married, and I was just a bystander.
Hey, buddy, it's Matt. Want to see how you were doing.
Hi, Fruit. Hi, Fartface. Mom! Hi, girls. Hi, Fruit Loop.
Hey, how you feeling?
Tired. Thanks for being here.
I will miss it.
Can we talk for a minute, Matt? It's going to get very hard. You're going to see things from Nicole never seen before.
You don't need to do this alone. I can come help you get to the other side of this.
I'd love to have you.
How long do you think you'll be up there?
I'm hoping just a couple weeks. Just want to make sure Matt gets back on his feet.
I usually make breakfast and dinner.
Maybe you can take some of that weight off. Speaking of, I was hoping you'd call me Grandma Dane.
Sure.
Molly, excuse me.
Sure, I'll call you Grandma Dane.
Thank you.
I want to make a list. I'd like to write letters to the girls for certain milestones in their lives. I want to have blue hair.
Molly, will you tell me when it's happening?
It's not happening.
Her entire life, she's wanted to be the Grand Marshal of Mardi Gras.
And I want to sing on stage with Katy Perry.
It all seems pretty doable.
Does it?
You've been gone for 3 months now. I thought that you were going to be gone for a couple weeks. What changed?
I got here and I saw that one person can't do this job.
I'm still a valid person,
Yeah, you
Matt.
are, but you gotta take
Don't get out!
I don't think you're this upset because I'm late.
What's happening to Mom?
I think you're mad because Mom is sick.
Why are you so hard on your dad?
Molly, you've broken my body. I saw you smile.
People don't look at me when they talk to me anymore.
You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. You always will be. You know, you don't have to stick around.
Nicole's my best friend too. I'm happy to be here.
First up, we're going to have the director of this film. Now, I'm only going to try to say her name once because I'm going to butcher it. So from after this, I'm just going to say director. So I apologize to her. I'm not doing this out of disrespect. I just don't want to butcher your name every time. We have the director of this film, Gabriela Coperthwaite. And if that's way wrong, again, my apologies. She directed a 2017 film, Megan Levy, or is it Megan Levy? Either way, 2013 Blackfish, and then the 2010 film, and now this is even worse, I'm probably going to say this wrong too. So again, I apologize. The 2010 film, either City LAX, an urban lacrosse story, or City Lax. Maybe City LAX, but you get the idea. An urban lacrosse story. This is her talking about the story of Our Friend.
Our Friend is about a couple who has a best friend. The couple goes through something very, very difficult, and the best friend moves in to keep their lives afloat and as beautiful as he can possibly keep it while they're going through tough times.
Now, coming up next, we have one of the stars of this film, Jason Segel. This guy is just an incredible talent. He just seems so normal and human. Seems like if you go up to him and talk to him, he'd gladly talk to you. Sit down, have lunch, whatever it is. I mean, you know him from so many movies, from the 2020 film Dispatches from Elsewhere, 2018 Come Sunday, 2017 film The Discovery, 2015 The End of the Tour, 2014 Sex Tape, 2013 This Is the End, 2012 This Is 40, 2011 The Muppets. Now, about the Muppets, he single-handedly brought them back to what we have today. He was a huge fan of the Muppets. If you just look into it, it's a fantastic story. He loved them, so then he made a movie on them. It's just a great story. The 2011 film, Jeff, Who Lives at Home, and of course what most of us, when we first got to know him, at least recently I should say, other than Freaks and Geeks, is from 2005 to 2014, the show How I Met Your Mother. Now, coming up now, this is him talking about the story.
Our Friend is about a true story written by Matthew Teague, who lost his wife to cancer. And along the way, to help the family go through this process, their best friend, Dane, who I play, came to move in with them and ended up staying longer than any of them expected. And what emerged was a story of real friendship through the toughest of circumstances.
Coming up next, we have the director of this film talking about Matt Teague, the guy who originally wrote this article about his wife.
Matt Teague, who wrote the article, The Friend, I think what is most inspiring about what he did in writing the article is the idea that he, even through his grief, was able to have the perspective and to see that every time he fell emotionally into darkness, which is something you do when when you experience loss, he acknowledged that there was someone there to break his fall and to kind of buffer it. And I think that speaks to Matt. He's always paying attention to everybody around him. I think he thinks Nicole did that, but I think he did that too. And I think he does that. And I think the fact that he wrote an article acknowledging that he had an anchor and that he had a tether during his darkest days, it was such a beautiful thing. And I totally find it inspiring.
Up next, we have Jason Segel talking about what stood out to him about the script.
What stood out to me when I first read the script was that somebody who went through the hardest experience that you'll ever go through in your life was able to emerge viewing the experience as a story of friendship, which was very moving to me, and I think really applicable to the way that we're all living right now. How are we going to frame these experiences that are so hard to go through in our minds so that they become something that uplifts us? And so I really wanted to help tell that story.
Coming up next, we have one of those great interviews where you get to get inside the director's head and see what they were thinking about casting a certain person. In this interview, she talks about why she wanted Jason Segel for this character.
I knew I wanted Jason for Dane. I'd seen End of the Tour and I'd seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall. So I saw this one individual can span the entire myriad of emotions and do them in a way that makes you want to be with him and hang out with him and hear what he has to say. And so I knew that's what I needed for Dane. I needed those layers to play throughout this film.
Coming up next, we're going to play a clip from this film. I'm going to try to set this up the best I can. Jason Segel is in a restaurant with his girlfriend, and she is wondering why he has to do this. So he's just trying to explain to her why he is needed and why he needs to go. So all the sounds you hear in this sound in the background here is they're at a restaurant.
What changed is I got here and I saw that one person can't do this job, okay? Between the girls and Nicole's medicine and the chemo sessions, Matt can't do this on his own.
Yeah, but they have other people in their life, like Nicole's family.
I grab this one.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Nicole's family lives close by.
I don't know what you want me to say.
They have other people in their life besides you, Dane.
I just feel like I'm supposed to be here right now.
Coming up next, we have Dakota Johnson, who plays Nicole, the female lead in this film. You know her from the 2020 film, The High Note, the 2020 film, The Nowhere Inn, from 2019, The Peanut Butter Falcon, also in 2019, Wounds, 2018. Now this is a great one. If you've never seen Bad Times at the El Royale, it is a fantastic, fantastic film. Obviously, it's not for everyone, but it is so beautifully shot. If you like well-made films, you must go see Bad Times at the El Royale. And of course, you might know her from the 50 Shades films. And in 2016, How to Be Single. 2015, the Johnny Depp film Black Mass. And back in 2010, The Social Network. Here she is talking about how she felt when she received the script.
When I first read the script, the immense sadness stood out, but overall the compassion and the love and the humor that sort of saved everyone was the thing that got me.
Up next, we're going to hear from Casey Affleck, who plays Matt. Now, he has just been in a lot of films. You'll know him from the 2020 film The World to Come, 2019, Light of My Life, 2018, The Old Man and the Gun, 2017, A Ghost Story, 2016, 999, 2016, The Finest Hours, and of course, the huge critically acclaimed film in 2016, Manchester by the Sea, 2014, another great film, Interstellar, 2013, Out of the Furnace, 2011, Tower Heist, 2010, I'm Still Here, 2007, Gone Baby Gone, and of course he was in the Oceans films. So here he is talking about Our Friend.
Our Friend is about a family who is in crisis, and an old friend of theirs who drops everything in his life at a time when he himself is struggling to show up and help this family.
Next, you'll hear Casey talk about what he felt like when he read the script for Our Friend.
When I first read the script, I was really touched by a story of friendship. It was a true story. I was touched by the things that Jason Segel's character does in the movie. And also, I was really moved to see such a sort of real and vulnerable, candid depiction of a marriage that, has all kind of problems in it. But that in the end, it's two people who find a way to love and support each other when things go terribly wrong.
We're going to play a clip for you next. Now, in this clip, it's Casey Affleck and Dakota Johnson. They're having a dinner with a bunch of friends that does not include Jason Segel. They're talking about the Jason Segel character. So this one friend of his is just ripping into him. And Dakota Johnson and Casey Affleck are just sitting there just trying not to get upset. This one guy's just laying into him because they're all friends at one point. And here it's kind of funny, like in real life sometimes. Somebody that people make fun of might be the most willing to help. And here's this clown making fun of him. So that's the setup of this scene. They're at a dinner party talking about the Jason Segel character.
Mangoes.
Matt, dude, I ran into Dane a couple weeks back. I was in New Orleans for my hotel conference, and he was at the Shim Sham Club, of all places.
Yeah, I gotta call him. I've been so busy. I miss him.
Well, I wouldn't rush or anything. It's not like he's got a whole lot going on. I mean, the guy's still working the same job, I think, down there at Redbeard's.
There's nothing wrong with
Still
that.
living in that same little apartment he has down on Hennessy Street.
This is a friend of yours?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's an old friend of mine and Nicole's.
Yeah. He lived on their couch in college.
Well, look, we've all had the guests come and they just won't leave, they overstay their welcome.
It's this guy.
No, we
Never
loved
leave.
it. We really loved having Dane there. He was, our best friend. They were inseparable. I mean, most of the time I felt like they were married, and I was just a bystander.
His nickname was Goldschlager in college.
Oh my
Like,
God.
it was Dane's drink of choice. He'd have like 2 shots. Next thing you know, he's all emotional. He's telling you he loves you. It's super.
Don't be a jerk.
I'm not being a jerk. Jesus Christ, I'm just telling the story here. Like, the guy would have 2 shots. Next thing you know, he's bro hugging everybody. He's getting all emotional. He's telling you, "You're my best friend, bro."
Right. He's a hugger. What's wrong with that?
Coming up next, we have Dakota Johnson, who plays Nicole. In this next interview, she talks about what she feels this movie is about.
Our Friend is about a couple who experiences profound sadness and difficulty and tragedy when Nicole Teague, the woman, the wife, is diagnosed with terminal cancer. And it's about love. It's about how if you use compassion bravely, it can really change somebody's life and really save somebody. And it's about how suffering and pain and tragedy is universal, but finding joy and levity and and a little bit of glee in little moments can really save you.
Now, I don't know if you remember when I spoke earlier in the show about what sets Jason Segel apart from so many other actors is that he seems so human, seems so normal. In his next interview, he was asked, did you ever meet the person that you were playing? And in this interview, he talked about, yeah, he did meet him once. But because of his own insecurities, he could barely look at the guy. And that's what I just love about hearing about these interviews, is that some actors, they really do care. And they are so nervous about performing and playing somebody who does exist and is still around. Sometimes it's easier to play somebody, I would think, who's no longer with us, or if maybe years and years have passed since they've been here. But playing somebody who is on set or that you can meet face to face, for me, I would be also very just freaking out. So anyway, that's what I like about Jason Segel. He doesn't hide behind some macho jazz. He says, yeah, I was insecure. So here he is talking about that.
I met Dane once while we were shooting, which was great. And I hope that he likes my performance, but I was too scared to really make eye contact with him or pay attention to if he liked it because of my own insecurities.
Coming up next, we're going to play another clip from this film. In this scene, we have Jason Segel and Dakota Johnson. Jason Segel's character is doing a makeshift stand-up routine just to amuse her. She's sitting on a couch, like holding up a flashlight, shining it on him, and there's like a sheet behind him. And during some of this jokes, like when he says a little chicken, he pulls out a little chicken from his pocket. So it's more of a visual joke. You might not catch that when you just listen to it. So this is just one of those moments between friends, and he's just trying to entertain her.
So I'm here in Fairhope, Alabama, visiting my friends and their kids. I've been reading to the kids. It's very interesting. They see these stories through like different eyes than we do. The other day I read their daughter Molly, 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. You remember that one? And when I finished, she said, "That's scary, Dane." I said, "What's scary about it? Is it the 1 fish, the 2 fish, the red fish, the blue fish?" She said, "No, your lack of ambition." Thank you. It's pretty scary to come up here. I have a friend who's been wanting to try stand up, but he's never done it. He's a little chicken. So being in a rural area like Fairhope, it's tough because there's not good cell phone reception.
Put your pocket back in.
Thank you. There's not good cell phone reception, unlike New Orleans. And I got a lady back in New Orleans, and we like to keep the magic alive, so we like to have a little phone sex, if you know what I mean. And the bad service makes it a little hard because things break up in the middle of some heated moments. My girlfriend's not very good at filling in the blanks. I mean, we're grown adults. Why would I want you to play with my clock? Thank you. Thank you so much, Fairhope, Alabama.
Coming up next, we have Jason Segel. In this interview, he was asked if he had ever heard of this story before.
I was not. No, I found out about it. I read the script and then I read the article and my heart was broken like everybody else. And getting to meet Matt and hear him tell the story himself too was it just really informed a way to approach these really difficult things that happen in your life and to try to find what is the silver lining of this tragedy.
Coming up next, we're going to hear from Dakota Johnson. In this interview is one of those kind of interviews, again, that I really enjoy. She talks about how important it was for her to actually film in the town where these people actually lived and live.
Shooting in Fairhope, Alabama was absolutely amazing. I love that town. I mean, being able to be in the place where the movie is set, where the real story happened and where the real people lived and still live was very magical.
Coming up next, we have the director of this film talking about working with Dakota Johnson.
And then Dakota was this, I feel like she's this magical fairy person. She would completely roll her eyes about that, but she has this ability to be strong while she's vulnerable. I don't know many people that can do that in such delicate like brushstrokes. You see the pain and the vulnerability behind these big blue eyes while she's being strong, while she's making a strong decision or speaking her mind. And that is something that felt so much like Nicole.
Coming up next, we're going to play another clip from this film. In this scene, she's sitting at the kitchen table with both Jason Segel and Casey Affleck. And she's just telling them, this is my conditions, these are my terms. So this is just her explaining what she wants and about a list she wants to make.
We're not going to tell the girls I'm dying yet. Okay? Not until my quality of life declines to the point where there's just like no more hiding it. And I want to make a list. Like a bucket list, I guess. I want to finish reading the girls the Lord of the Rings books. And I'd like to reread all my favorite books too. And I'd like to write some letters to the girls for certain milestones in their lives, like, you know, first boyfriend and their wedding day and first baby and just things like that, in case they want to hear my advice or want to feel me. I'd like to be blonde. No, I want to have blue hair. And I also want to go to New York one last time and see Les Mis. And Mardi Gras, I want to be a Grand Marshal. And I want to sing on stage with Katy Perry.
Up next, we have the director talking about working with Casey Affleck.
And then Casey, you know, there's just sort of nothing he can't do in this kind of dramatic way, in this dramatic kind of medium. But for me, it was also, he has this accessibility where you feel like you're him, you feel like you're feeling what he's feeling. You want, again, like the other actors, you want to be with him. You want him to be your friend. And those are things that I needed for all three of these actors. And he also, if you remember from the Ocean's films and from so many of the films that he's been in before, kind of like this dramatic kind of take that he's had recently, is he's really, really funny. And so I had like the spectrum of everything, the dream cast, to be able to get this film so it's not just one thing. It's not comedic. It's not necessarily, the whole entire thing isn't dark. It's a little bit of everything, and it should feel like that because that's what life feels like.
In the next clip we're going to play for you, we have Casey Affleck in the scene with Dakota Johnson. In the scene, they're in their bedroom, it's a very intimate moment where she's sitting in front of a mirror explaining to him how people aren't looking at her anymore due to her illness. So then he just tells her the story about how they met and how much she means to him. So here's a clip from Our Friend.
I'm so ugly now.
What are you talking about?
People don't look at me when they talk to me anymore.
Let me tell you the story of how we met. The old Burger Palace. You gotta get back to the Burger Palace. Oh man, that hostess had no idea what was going on. Tuesday, around 11:30, I walk into the Burger Palace of Mobile.
So early for a burger.
Well, you know, destiny was waiting. And my heart was pounding for some reason. And then you came up to me and I said, "Oh, you know, I'm new to town." And I said, "Would you show me around?" And you said, "Why me?" And I said, the only thing that I could think of, because it was the truth. I said, "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen." And you said, "Okay." You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. You always will be.
Up next, we have Casey Affleck talking about what he hopes people will take from this film.
I hope people who watch this movie are as moved as I was about how it depicts friendship and what it says about the power of relationships, and how it sort of reinforces the idea that, you know, there's no better way to sort of save yourself than to show up selflessly for someone else.
Next, we hear from Jason Segel, and this is what he hopes people take from this film.
I guess I hope that audiences will watch the movie and reflect on how maybe we can all be better friends to the people in our lives. Not that we're not good friends, but I can speak for myself. I realized I wasn't nearly as active or engaged and involved in my friends' lives as I pictured I was in my head. Would I actually be there if something happened? And why am I waiting for something to happen before I'm a good friend? So, yeah, it made me reflect on friendship. Maybe it'll make people do the same.
Up next, we have Dakota Johnson talking about what she hopes people will get out of this film.
I hope people watching this film feel a sense of connection and understanding, and are reminded how precious life is and how important it is to love each other.
Coming up next, we have the director when she was asked what does she hope people will get out of this film.
Gosh, there's so much I want for people to take away from the film. I want it to feel unique to each one of us, because I think our relationships with losing someone is so unique. People always say you're not alone when you lose someone, you know, or you're not alone when you're depressed, but you know, you're not alone. You're very, very alone, right? But I guess one of the takeaways for me is that just because you're the only one grieving in that particular way doesn't mean you're the only one grieving. And that is, like, if you start looking around, you see that other people are helping uphold the memory of this person, and that they're in that way, they're almost upholding you. So I guess the biggest takeaway is I would want people to leave this film and hug their loved ones and keep them close. And then the next day, just call a friend you haven't spoken to for a while.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our in-depth look at Our Friend. Now, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, any way you want to improve the show, please feel free, let me know at cinemajudge@hotmail.com. Now, I also want to thank so many regulars who tune in to listen to this show, and some new people too, from all over the United States to Australia, France, Russia. And just as a side note here, Australia is just a little bit behind in a number of listen tos, if that's the right word I'm looking for. So yeah, it's United States, and then Australia is a close second for people who listen. So hello down under. I truly appreciate your time. And thanks to Columbus, Ohio. Looks like a few more people listened. I really appreciate it. And if you're spreading the word, telling a friend, I thank you. Because you never know. More people who listen, maybe one day I could get a big shot on here and not just have it be recorded. Not that I'm not knocking the recording thing. I love it. But hey, if I get more listeners, maybe I could have real people on. To the people of La Vista, Nebraska, thank you. Looks like you spread the word too. Always nice to have more listeners. I really appreciate your time in sharing the show. Searing, Wisconsin, thank you for always tuning in. I appreciate it very much. Chicago, you guys always stop in too. The listeners in Indiana, Boston, Atlanta, Baltimore, Maryland, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Duluth, Minnesota, thank you. Prior Lake, I really appreciate you. Rosemount, Minnesota, Longville, Minnesota, Washington, Virginia, truly, thank you for taking time out of your busy life. Adelaide, South Australia, you guys are awesome. And so many of you from Australia stopping by to listen. Thanks for spreading the word. That's incredible. And to the listeners in Manhattan, New York, thank you. Again, you guys have wild, crazy lives, and you take time out of your life to listen to this. I really appreciate that. And this week's special shout out goes to Dano the Mano and Lady Blue. I appreciate all you do. Until next time, be well, be good, and I'm gone. I'm Jeff. Thanks for listening to The Cinema Judge.